Hello, everyone! Welcome to the second installment of The Rise and Fall of Abby Lee Miller. I'm JB, and today we'll be diving into part 2, covering from season 4 to 6 of Dance Moms in the timeline of Abby's life. If you need a refresher, which you might because it took me 7 months to make part 2, I recommend you check out part 1, which will be linked in the description. Now, before we jump in, there are a couple things that I just want to bring up that got mentioned in the comments of my last video. The first being Kathy. I didn't talk about her in my last video, so I feel like I just have to mention her now. Kathy Nesbitt Stein is the mother of Vivi Ann Stein, who is the queen of Dance Moms and should always be referred to as such. Kathy and Vivi were introduced in the first episode where they auditioned for the team. Kathy and Vivi are from Canton, Ohio, not Pittsburgh like everyone else on the show. Kathy auditioned for the show and was cast, so her initial storyline was very much influenced by production. After leaving the ALDC, she became their antagonist on the show, always scheming and trying to beat them at competitions with her own team, the Candy Apples. She's a constant presence on the show, and she's there to push everyone's buttons, and she does it really well. Kathy and Abby actually knew each other before Dance Moms started because they were colleagues. Kathy only knew about the auditions for Dance Moms because Abby posted it on her personal Facebook page at the time, and they were friends. For a while, their feud seemed to just be for the cameras. They went on the Rosie show and they were all buddy-buddy, and after the death of Broadway Baby, Kathy actually bought Abby a new dog as a gift, but she felt like it was too soon, and she gave the dog to Nia. Their relationship seemed to change at some point during the series. I suspect the turning point was when Kathy hit Abby with her purse in season 4, but they reconciled after season 7 ended, and they still make collabs on YouTube. Vivi is now a senior in high school. She's still a competitive dancer with the Candy Apples, and she's a cheerleader. And I just love the girl so much. She is so damn funny. People ask me, like, JB, who's your favorite dancer from Dance Moms? And they think I'm gonna say JoJo, but no, it's Vivi. Another person who I didn't mention really at all in my last video is Gianna. Gianna Martello is a choreographer at the Abby Lee Dance Company and was Abby's assistant throughout the series. She actually choreographed like most of the dances we see on the show, and sometimes they show that and sometimes they don't. The show portrayed Gianna in a very neutral light. She never fought with anyone or anything. I didn't mention her in my last video and a lot of people brought it up in the comments, and rightfully so. She was by Abby's side throughout the entire Dance Moms journey. You're gonna hear me say this a lot in this video, but Max Z-Boss has a great video about Gianna. It's called, Is This the Most Underrated Cast Member? It talks about how much work she really put into the show, but I would also urge you to watch her Correcting My Past Episodes video. In that one, she talks about how a lot of the girls feel about Gianna nowadays. Not all of them look back so fondly. Many do, many don't. Kind of an Abby situation in that sense. And I also wanted to bring up John Michael Fiumara, because I was wrong, he was not in the original Broadway cast of Newsies. He was still in Newsies, but he wasn't OBC. He's in Funny Girl right now with Lea Michele though. Since I recorded my last video, Christy and Kelly have started a Dance Moms recap podcast called Back to the Bar. If you find this behind the scenes stuff interesting, you should really give that a listen. They start right at the beginning, and right now they're at about, mid-season 2. And I just think it's wild to hear their recollection of events plus like stuff from before the show began. I think it brings a whole new light to it all. And speaking of podcasts, my friends Windsor Sully and I host a weekly podcast called Feminine Features where we discuss chick flicks. I was on as a guest back in July for the Legally Blonde episode and came on as a full host in November. Some of my favorite episodes that I've recorded with them so far have got to be Pitch Perfect, High School Musical, and Titanic, which I think should be out by the time I upload this. You could also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, or Letterboxd at FemFeaturesPod. So yeah, that'd be really cool if you could check that out. Thank you. Alright, now I think our bases are covered, so let's jump back into the timeline. Abby closed out season 3 by saying she's holding auditions for new dancers. This causes a stir with the mothers, of course, but Abby says it's to push their kids to be better. She held auditions throughout the country for a good chunk of this season and introduced the select team about halfway through to compete directly against the junior elites. This is one of the main conflicts throughout this season, with the threat of being replaced looming over the team. With this fear on everyone's mind, some team members were more worried than others, specifically Chloe, Brooke, and Paige. Abby's distaste for the these students and their mothers has always been present, and it all comes to a head this season. The last episode that the Highlands are on the team is Season 4, Episode 7, Big Trouble in the Big Apple. We're gonna break down the events that led up to the infamous Kelly-Abby altercation. By this point, Abby had already started bringing in dancers to compete directly against specific girls. During the pyramid in this episode, Abby reveals for the first time her plans to create a whole new team and that she might put Maddie on it. Paige and Brooke are assigned solos, and Paige a duet with Chloe for the competition at Sheer Talent in the Bronx that weekend. This is unusual for Paige, who's normally just in the group number. Having 3 dances in 1 week is kind of a lot for her. Chloe, Brooke, and Paige are set to go to Abby's open call audition in New York City, while the other team members are attending Nouveau Dance Competition in Pittsburgh. Kalani, who was on Season 2 of Abby's Ultimate Dance Competition, performed a duet with Maddie at this competition, which I believe they learned at booty camp during the breaks between Season 3 and 4. Kalani appears in rehearsal footage this episode, and this is her first introduction on Dance Moms. At the open call, Christy and Kelly are upset because their girls weren't taught the combo beforehand like the other girls who had assisted at the auditions. This way, they're not really assisting, but learning it themselves with the other dancers there. They say it's embarrassing, and Abby says it's embarrassing that they're wearing ALDC gear, so they take it off. So they won't be used for demonstrating or assisting, they'll just be dancing. It should be noted that at this point, Chloe, Brooke, and Paige are not members of the ALDC. They're on the show Dance Moms, and Abby doesn't have the authority to kick them off the show, so they're still there. This is probably the reason that Abby brought the 3 of them to New York in the first place, since they weren't competing with the ALDC off camera. Max Zboss has a whole video about Chloe's experience with this in Season 4, and it's my understanding that the Highlands haven't been members for a while at this point. During the audition, a mother of a dancer straight up says that her daughter can dance better than Paige. Abby makes this dancer come back up and dance next to Paige, and then sends her home. Paige is fighting back tears the whole time. At the competition, Paige and Brooke perform their solos. Kelly is backstage during their solos, which has me skeptical about the timeline of this episode and how it was edited. After Brooke performs, Abby sits in the audience and talks shit about her performance, and this is when things start to get dicey. Abby wanted to put Maddie and Kalani's duet into the competition. Melissa asks her if they could just do it as an exhibition, not adjudicated and competing against Chloe and Paige. But Abby says no because she wants a big win in New York City. But Melissa had the costume with her, and the duet got placed in the competition. This dance is called Blue Sapphires, but unfortunately it's known online as the dance that broke Dance Moms. Christy and Kelly are infuriated knowing that their kids have been set up to fail. The 2 duets perform, a fight breaks out between the moms, and we even see tension between Maddie and Chloe. Feelings have been hurt. At this moment, the feelings are really real, and they aren't putting on a show for the cameras. Like it's not just about dance anymore. Abby then enters the room and introduces the moms and girls to Kalani and her mother Kira, and says she's the right fit for the team. Of course, they all knew each other at this point, but reality TV show shit, I don't know. Kalani offered to improv a solo at the competition, and Abby immediately compared that to Brooke's lack of initiative with her choreography from the week before. Kelly responds, well, maybe you should replace her. Jill asks Kalani if she knows and is in the group dance, and Kalani says she knows it but doesn't think she's performing in it. Abby says, well, I don't know, look at Brooke over there. Didn't her mother just say replace her? And you know what? We'll just watch the rest escalate from here.
Oh, did you just sit here and say that my daughter looks miserable, so maybe we should put Kalani in her place?
No, I never said that.
Yes, you most certainly did.
No, I didn't think that. Listen, I said, Brooke, is your mother speaking for you? Do you
out
want
of
to
my
be
face!
Girls out the room!
Yeah,
Girls
you
out the
leave.
room!
Out the room!
Get away from me! Girls out of the room right now!
Sorry that was so heavily edited. I got 8 copyright claims on my last video. Abby calls the police, the Highlands leave, and the team reblocks the number and competes. Kalani does not perform with them. At the awards ceremony, Kenzie and Kendall accepted awards on behalf of Paige and Brooke. Paige and Chloe's duet came in second place, and first place went to Maddie and Kalani. The group dance also took home first place. The Highlands never returned to the Abby Lee Dance Company. They appear in 2 or 3 more episodes briefly, but that's it. Abby ends up filing a police report against Kelly for assaulting her. Because of the police report, Kelly was arrested and fired from Lifetime. Some people speculate that Kelly knew it was their last week and pulled this stunt to get out of the show, but I don't think that's true. There was definitely a lot going on that week, and I think it just ended up being the perfect storm that resulted in their exit. Kelly filed a countersuit in February of 2014 against Abby and Collins Avenue Productions for $5 million. This document outlines the mistreatment they faced during production and how their contracts were breached. So let's break down some of the things that are mentioned in this lawsuit. The charges include assault, defamation, breach of contract, negligence, and intentional and negligent infliction of emotional distress. This case was in court for several months, and many of the charges were either dismissed or settled. In episode 13 of this season, Abby puts a screen grab of Kelly from the day of the fight at the top of the pyramid. That same week, Kelly and Abby were at a New York City courthouse for Kelly's assault charges. Abby stood outside with Kira and had some choice things to say to TMZ.
What do you hope to come from this? What do you hope to come from this whole situation, of going to court and stuff like that? Well, I have to stand by what I believe in, and I believe that justice is going to serve. Well, yeah, and what I said, and my friend said at home, I said, do you think I'm doing the right thing? And they said, hey, Abby, if you don't press charges against her, the next thing, no, it's going to be those 2 kids killed in the car with her. That's what it's going to be.
This occurrence is also mentioned in the lawsuit against Collins Ave and Abby brought upon by the Highlands. It's so weird to me that Kira was there. We should probably give them a proper introduction, right? So Kira Gerard is the mother of Kalani Hilliker. Kalani was a contestant on season 2 of Abby's Ultimate Dance Competition, and Abby was immediately drawn to her. Her first appearance on Dance Moms was Big Trouble in the Big Apple, and she continued to appear in a couple more episodes in season 4. In season 5, Kira and Kalani become regular cast members and stay until the end of the show's original run. Kira is known for not really giving a shit about anything, but when she speaks up, she is ruthless. Partway through season 4, tragedy strikes Abby once again. Her mother, Marion Lorraine Miller, passed away on February 8th, 2014, after a long battle with colon cancer. She had been in hospice for a while, and while this was expected to happen eventually, of course that doesn't make it any easier. Marion was Abby's last living parent and immediate family member. Her last words were to Melissa, who spent a lot of time with her in her final days. The death of her mother and Broadway baby were highly impactful events on Abby's life that we saw a lot of play out on TV. Now, I'd like to preface this by saying this is all alleged and may not be true, but according to Christy, who got this information from Holly, Abby allegedly put Broadway baby, her deceased but taxidermied dog, in the casket with her mother before burial.
No, she buried him with her mother. And here's the thing. You are not allowed to do that. And so when they were going to close her mother's casket, she was shoving it in and trying to slam the top down like you try to slam a trunk because it wouldn't close because he was stiff. And that is straight out of Holly's mouth because she was there and she told me the story.
Okay. Also this season, Abby begins to branch out from dance into the music industry. Brooke was the first person on the show to have a music career. She released Summer Love Song in 2012, and Abby directed the music video. Besides that, Abby wasn't really involved in her music career and didn't really support Brooke pursuing this path. During the reunion episode that kicked off season 4, Kelly confronts Abby about this, stating she'd be more grateful if she was her manager and making money off of it. Mackenzie was the next pop star we got out of the Dance Moms cast, going by the alias Mac Z. This was Abby's first time producing music and music videos, doing it again with Kendall in season 5. It seems like Abby also acts as an agent for a lot of girls on the team. She wears a lot of shirts that say "Abby's my agent" in bedazzled letters with an email underneath it. And I had a link saved on the ALDC website that talked about this aspect of her career, but it has since become defunct. So that's karma for me taking 7 months to make this, I guess. Kenzie's first single was called It's a Girl Party and was actually filmed the week Marion passed away and was released in April of 2014. We see the production of this music video take place on Dance Moms, with all of the team being cast in the video except Chloe. Abby was heavily involved in the casting process. In the video, Abby is featured with the ALDC logo very clearly seen on the girls' clothes, and the video currently has 82 million views on YouTube. Abby also has a weird interlude on one of the Max Z songs, Play Nice. I don't think I can put a clip of it here, but please, please, please look it up. It's so funny. The Select team is introduced in episode 17. This is what Abby has been teasing all season leading up to this point. She has created a team specifically curated to challenge the junior elites, with one girl to go up against each one of the other girls individually, except for Maddie. In this first episode that the Select team is at the ALDC, Chloe is set to compete head-to-head with Cameron. When Chloe beats Cameron, Abby is appalled by the results and asks the judges why she won. Here's a clip of the MC of that competition talking about that day.
We won. Abby pulled the judges into a production room because she completely disagreed with their decision. But she pulled the judges into the room and gave this long sob story about how Chloe has fans and Instagram fans and she's never in class and this is why she doesn't deserve to win and I don't understand how you guys scored her like that.
They're only judging on what they see.
Right. And one of the judges was like, I don't watch Dance Moms. I don't care how many Instagram fans she has or whatever. I judged her on her dancing. And the rest of the judges followed.
A few weeks later, the elite team accompanied Abby to her guest judge appearance on Dancing with the Stars, with Chloe noticeably absent. I found this snarky Entertainment Weekly article breaking down that episode, and it takes us step by step through the night, with every critique she gave to every dancer, so these are my highlights. As far as I'm concerned, Miller's hair was a big enough deal, and definitely full of secrets, before we even got to her attitude or her absolute obsession with James. Wait a minute. James who? Tonight would mark the introduction of Abby Lee Miller as a judge. Her checklist of perfection is included: straight legs, pointed feet, perfect musicality, inspiration, emotional changes, and pretty much everything. And by everything, she means you have to look like James Maslow and be named James Maslow. James Maslow? I love Big Time Rush. Hold on. Okay, I changed into my Big Time Rush t-shirt for this section. Abby thought the concept was amazing and gave us her first inappropriate comment of the night. I love to see a man down on his knees. And yes, her prepubescent students were sitting in the audience listening, but we'll just breeze right past that one for the sake of all things good in the world. As soon as I saw that James was doing the waltz, I was worried. But as soon as I saw his Big Time Rush members come visit him, all my worries floated away. The whole band was there? You're telling me that Abby Lee Miller, the Dance Moms girlies, and Big Time Rush were all in a room on the same day? And I didn't know that until I wrote the script. Once again, Abby's score was obviously dictated by her feelings for the dancers because that routine did not deserve a 10. Fact. Can we give a mirror ball trophy to that little girl from Abby's company that said she thought Abby would be ruder? That's one brave little girl considering she has dance rehearsal tomorrow. I like her. Abby loved it, but wanted to know what a one-night stand was. Really? Your students are still here. And also, just stop. Did you see Carrie Ann's face when she made that comment? Oh yeah, Abby's definitely not invited back. So you could say Abby ruffled a few feathers while on Dancing with the Stars. Most of the headlines spoke of the backlash from dancers on the show, like Derek Huff and Val Shimerkovsky, who is the husband of Jenna Johnson, who was JoJo's partner from her season. The select team did its job and caused lots of drama and disbanded after the finale of season 4, but they weren't the only major departure. The season 4 finale is infamously Chloe and Christy's last episode. For now, at least. As I mentioned before, Max Zeboss has a really well-done video about how Chloe was excluded in Season 4, which will be linked in the description. In this episode, Christy and Abby get into a blowout argument in which Abby told her to get Chloe's lazy eye fixed. In the final edit that aired, they dubbed this over with an insult she threw at Kathy a few episodes prior.
Kathy! You're finished! You're washed up! You're old! You're nothing! Chloe is finished! Your kid's washed up!
Christy took to Twitter to inform everyone that it was dubbed over, and her real comment was about Chloe's eye. Multiple other sources have confirmed this as well, including a Candy Apple's mom and Kathy. This was the final straw for the Lucasiacs. Christy decided the pain was simply not worth it anymore, and the two departed from Dance Moms following this episode. So, while writing this script, I was going back and watching old videos and finding articles from this time frame just to make sure I didn't miss anything major. I was watching an old Entertainment Tonight interview where they very casually drop this line.
But the 47-year-old's biggest fan is her fiancé, 33-year-old Michael Padula.
Oh, it's younger. It's younger. I'm good with kids.
And believe me, when I say I screamed, what the hell is this? Who is this guy? Why have I literally never heard about this shit before? So in January of 2014, Abby made a post on Instagram with the caption, "I do," at Michael Padula, alluding to an engagement. Abby's mother passed away the following month. Abby has since admitted that the engagement was fake, and she did it to give her mother some peace of mind. Okay. This reminds me that what I'm doing here is mostly about Abby's career, mostly because there's just a lot of personal life things that I don't know. She seemed to have a few boyfriends here and they're always like 19 to 24-year-old, really hot guys. The things she posts online about young men makes me uncomfortable too. It's super weird and we'll probably talk about it more when we get to present day Abby. And I think I mentioned it in my last video too. In July 2014, just a few weeks after season 4 finished filming, Abby released her book titled Everything I Learned in Life, I Learned in Dance Class. According to an article by the ghostwriter Peter Economy, the book was written in only 2 months. I do own it. I bought the book off of Depop for like $4 a couple months ago. And one thing that I do like about the book is that the cover of it opens up into a poster. See, it's the book. That's her mom. If you'll notice, the poster only has Mackenzie, Maddie, Nia, and Kendall on it. Yeah, this book just reads like a really shitty parenting book. I took a bunch of notes when I was reading it for these videos. And you know, I'm no book critic, but it's not good. In the center of it, there's some glossy pages with photos on them and stuff. And look, it's little baby Abby. She was so cute. There's also some older photos in here of the Abby Lee Dance Company back in the 80s, so that's kind of cool. I'm trying to think of what else to say about this book, but I'm really coming up blank here. Later in July 2014, Abby, Maddie, Mackenzie, Kendall, and Nia went on tour in Australia. Now, this is not the same Australia trip that we see in season 5, and we'll get there, but this is important too. And that is because in 2016, Abby pled guilty to smuggling $13,000 of Australian currency out of the country on this trip. So don't worry, we'll be coming back to that. Alright, I was cold, so I changed into my Big Time Rush hoodie. Season 5 gets off to a rocky start. Chloe is absent, and it's said by the team that no one has heard from them since last season. I know that's like a hot topic of debate on the Dance Moms subreddit, but we're not talking about that because this isn't about that. Paige filed a lawsuit against Abby during the first week of filming for this season. This is a separate lawsuit from the one we talked about earlier. Paige sued Abby for assault, referring to the time that Abby threw a chair at her in season 2. We see Abby's raw reaction to this during episode 1. The response on social media and in the press caused a lot of stress, and that will only continue to build. During the competition in this first episode, the director of Sheer Talent, Alex Erickson, gives a speech during the awards ceremony and praises Abby to the high heavens. He says that he's known Abby for a long time and that he and Sheer Talent will always support her no matter what's going on social media. This really goes to show how not legit the competitions were at this point in the show. And not only that, but Abby is being sued for assault by a student. And he's like, love you, bestie. Like, what does that say about your dance competition and your values? Kalani returns this season, and a few episodes later, we meet JoJo Siwa, who appears with her mother Jesselyn as a guest on the team. I have to get changed one more time, I'm sorry. This is the only, Dance Moms adjacent clothing piece that I own. JoJo later becomes a full member, but not until Abby has all of the other team members stand up at the front of the room and read off 3 good things about her and 3 bad things about her. JoJo was originally introduced on season 2 of Abby's Ultimate Dance Competition, the same season as Kalani. She and her mother are cast members on Dance Moms for a season and a half before they leave to pursue a talent deal with Nickelodeon. Obviously, this proved to be a very good move because she's a huge celebrity. If you follow me on TikTok, you know I'm a real big JoJo fan. I have this little mini JoJo Siwa doll. My roommate got it for me for Easter last year. It came in an egg. And my sister made me this bear at Build-A-Bear for my 19th birthday. The bear itself is not a JoJo bear, but she's on the shirt, and the shirt used to sparkle a lot more. I also have a JoJo Siwa blanket and a pillow, but I couldn't find either of those right now. So yeah, I guess you could say I'm a fan. The Junior Elite team heads out to Los Angeles this season while Abby looks for new studio space and the girls attend auditions, film music videos, and attend events. Abby's behavior this season is something new. From what we see on camera, she's more erratic and flaky than she ever has been. LA gets off to a rocky start with Abby not showing up to rehearsals and the team not winning as consistently as they did on the East Coast. Abby's excuse for all of her absences this season is that she's been working on the new studio. A big point of of tension throughout this whole season is Nia's music career. Abby was originally the agent or manager for every girl on the team. Nia and Holly decided to go in a different direction so that Abby doesn't have any power or say over Nia's music career. Abby has stated that she wanted Nia to be an R&B singer, but Nia wanted to do pop. Once she started working with Aubrey O'Day and Mikey Minden, Abby calls Nia a traitor and even goes so far as to call up Aubrey and try to get her to not work with Nia. And this is just what we see on the show. Nia ends up releasing a single and a music video entitled Star in Your Own Life. Kendall is also kicking off her music career this season. Abby directs her video Wear 'Em Out around the same time that Nia films hers, and Abby, along with the moms, are constantly comparing things between the two. Abby's behavior continues to escalate when the girls are asked to audition for a Maddie B Raps video. Sarah Reasons from the Select team in season 4 and Brim Rumfallow, who joins the team later in season 6, are also there since they were guests on the team this week. The main issue surrounding this video has to do with Mackenzie's music contract. At this point, she is still signed to Kismet Music as Maxie, so when she was selected to have a featured role and a singing part in the video, Abby wanted to make sure that she had a featured credit. However, Abby was not present when the moms signed these contracts, and this concern was not communicated to Maddie B's producers. She arrived when filming had already begun and ended up causing a scene and leaving the shoot with Kenzie, Maddie, and Kendall. Kalani, JoJo, Nia, and the two guests stay to finish filming, and they're featured in the final cut of the video. Abby felt like this was a personal betrayal against her, and it was a catalyst for the already brewing feud between Holly and Abby this season. While a lot of this drama is no doubt manufactured for the show, Abby's attitude toward Nia and JoJo is notably more negative than Maddie, Mackenzie, Kalani, and Kendall. This continues through their trip to Australia and the remainder of the season. The ALDC's tour of Australia took place in March of 2015. I'd once again like to emphasize that this is not when Abby smuggled money out of the country, because I totally thought this was that trip until I was writing the script. The Australian dance community did not take lightly to Abby's arrival. There was a petition to have her visa revoked, and in general, the Australian press seemed to be less forgiving towards Abby's teaching methods and behavior. The entire team performed at the Astra Awards, and Abby scheduled a meet and greet tour for the remainder of this trip and invited Maddie, Mackenzie, Kalani, and Kendall to join her. Nia, who had just premiered her first music video, held a separate event and invited JoJo to perform with her. During this trip, Abby talks a lot of shit about Nia's career, and she says she looks too old and mature and that she's changed her image too much. Back in Los Angeles, Abby is working to finish her new studio on Hollywood Boulevard. The Junior Elite team has spent most of their time in season 5 at 3rd Street Dance when rehearsing, but the ALDC LA opened its doors on May 30th, 2015. This was a long time coming. Abby had been looking for space in LA since season 3. The day after opening, the ALDC attended nationals, and the Junior Elite team did not take home the national title for the first time in the history of the show. Abby, along with Melissa, Jill, Kira, and their kids, left during the awards ceremony, claiming that the competition was fixed. There were some other fishy things going on during that competition, like Kalani's solo placed 4th, but in the trio category or something like that. So there was more to that than what we saw in the show, as always. A few days after this was filmed, a source told The Hollywood Gossip that Abby had made an joke about a dancer on a rival team during the competition the previous week. This comment did not make it to air. On the filming day of the reunion episode for season 5, Abby texted everyone else in the cast and told them not to show up. When she arrived, seemingly hours after her call time, she refused to speak and brought cue cards to answer questions with. For a brief moment, you can see that a card reads, "They fined me $80,000 because I refused to attend a fixed competition," specifically not giving in to the producer's demands. And the topic of fixed competitions when it comes to Dance Moms is hard to talk about, so once again, Maxie Boss has a great video about that, and I'll link it in the description. In an interview with TMZ, she explained some of her more erratic behavior by saying they couldn't film her in her undergarments, so that's why she'd take her clothes off. But they did film her in her undergarments and it went on national television. So I think she just thought that they couldn't film her. In July 2015, Paige's lawsuit against Abby was dismissed by a judge. The Highlands attorney says they were looking into further options like an appeal, but nothing came of it after this. On August 20th, 2015, the Abby Lee Dance Secrets app for the iPhone dropped. This app featured videos of Maddie, Mackenzie, Kendall, and Kalani demonstrating dance tips with Abby's instructions. It was $4.99 with in-app purchase purchases, which caused complaints, so the in-app purchases were gone the next day. It's no longer available in the App Store, but in 2020, Abby uploaded a lot of the content from this app onto her YouTube channel. Right before season 6 started filming, a man was arrested for sending multiple packages to Dance Moms cast members such as Maddie and JoJo after harassing them online. I wasn't going to bring this up because it's pretty dark and doesn't have much to do with what we're talking about right now, but I did learn that this man has a tattoo of Abby on his neck. I thought that was worth mentioning. Like, just someone out there has a tattoo of Abby. Abby kicks off season 6 by telling the team that she is putting a hold on all activities outside of dance because their loss at nationals means they are not up to scruff with the rest of the competition anymore. The moms are upset because these opportunities were the whole reason for the move to LA, plus Maddie was literally on the set of a movie when Abby said that. Abby also brought in Bryn to fill in for Maddie while she's away on projects, but Bryn eventually becomes a full team member. Bryn Rumfellow and her mom Ashley Allen are from Arizona and come from the same dance studio Kalani and her mother did. There's a big conflict this season between Ashley, Jesselyn, and Jill, and we won't talk about it much in this video, but I hate that plotline. Once again, the top of the season starts with Abby facing legal trouble. In October of 2015, Abby was indicted on 20 counts of fraud, including bankruptcy fraud and concealment of assets. She faced up to 5 years in federal prison and a $25,000 fine for each of the 20 counts. This all came to light because the judge on her bankruptcy case was channel surfing one night and saw an ad for Abby's Ultimate Dance competition. He realized that she was way bigger of a reality star than she was letting on and had more sources of income than what she had disclosed to the court. She was obligated to disclose all income to the court because of the bankruptcy she had filed for back in 2010. According to these documents, when Abby created the company No More Tears Productions, she had her paychecks from Collins Avenue deposited into that account, and then hid from the court that she had established that LLC at all. No More Tears Productions was the company that, produced the music videos and stuff, I'm pretty sure. I was struggling to find info about it. Alright, while I was editing, I did a little more research on No More Tears Productions, so I gotta throw that in here too. First off, I was wrong. No More Tears Productions is not an LLC, it's an incorporation. And they produced Kendall's album Out Loud, but they did not produce Wear 'Em Out or her Christmas album or whatever else she has out at this point. No More Tears Productions also produced the Abby Lee Dance Secrets app, and they produce every single one of Abby's YouTube videos. If you go in the description and scroll down, you'll see it says copyright No More Tears Productions. So that's what No More Tears Productions does, I guess. Alright, okay, back to me. She also had unreported income in Wells Fargo, PayPal, and ShowClicks accounts. I haven't read very many court and legal documents before working on this video, but this one was kind of an easy read, and I recommend you check it out. This document has so many emails sent from Abby where she's being not discreet at all about the whole money thing, and it's just so funny. One of them says have all this foreign cash, need a little money laundering. Bro. I left a highlighted copy of this down in the description. It covers the bankruptcy fraud and the Australia trip. These legal troubles won't just disappear this time. This is the beginning of the end of Dance Moms. This is the fall. Abby continues through the first few episodes, business as usual. The mini team is introduced this season as well. A group of young dancers ages 6 to 10 who Abby will now be spending lots of time with. The minis are a huge point of tension this season because Abby is spending less time with her elite team and more time with them. In episode 3, the moms get an email from Abby saying she has resigned from her position. I'm really not quite sure what she was resigning from, be it the elite team or the show. Abby can't really resign from the show that easily though, as we all know the contracts were really restrictive. Abby did not return the following week and locked the team out of the studio. Abby's absence from these episodes line up with an article I found about her indictment. The competition in episode 3 was on October 31st, 2015. And she returned the week of November 14th. Abby pleaded not guilty to federal charges against her and filed for an extension on November 2nd in Pittsburgh, so her not being there makes sense. However, Abby has said in interviews that if she's gone from a few episodes this season, it's because she's fighting with a producer. The girls go back to her studio in episode 6, are kicked out again into episode 7, and then go back again in episode 8. I believe this was because the producers wanted one of the girls to portray a teen mom in a dance, and Abby put her foot down and said no. And if this theory is true, I respect her for it. This is mentioned in the Deadline article, and in episode 7, her comments seem to line up with that idea. While I'm glad none of the girls had to portray a teen mom in a dance, and I'm very glad that Abby put her foot down and said no, there are plenty of other times where maybe she should have tried to do that. At the same time, a lot of these dances were ideas from production, and as we know, Abby will get fined by production for not giving in to their demands. But I thought now would be a good time to talk about the problematic dances that Abby choreographed for her dancers on Dance Moms. There are a lot of dances that the girls do that are very, I don't want to call them because they're not, but definitely inappropriate for their ages. Like Electricity or Broadway Blondes. There are a lot of racist dances that they do too. Like on the Select team, there was one Asian girl on the Select team, and Abby had her do a dance called Far East. She had both Nia and Asia do dances where they were dogs. And if we're talking about Nia always had what Abby called an ethnic solo. Another group dance that comes to mind is Tribal Council. Kendall did a lot of ethnic solos as well, and she's white. I feel like Kendall had like one Egyptian solo a season. Brooke did a dance at one point called Diary of Anne Frank, despite her not being Jewish. And honestly, my biggest issue with the Anne Frank solo is that it had literally nothing to do with Anne Frank. JoJo's first group dance was called Something to Believe In, and the girls dressed up as different religions. And I personally really did not like the season 7 Nationals dance. I know we're not there yet in the timeline, but it just felt really distasteful. Oh my god, Maddie was like Helen Keller in a dance at one point. My biggest problem with a lot of these dances is that they heavily rely on tokenism and shock value rather than anything else. And yeah, I just feel like I didn't touch on the problematic dances enough in these last 2 videos, so had to throw this in there. Okay, and back to me again. Jesselyn says in episode 7 that Abby flew to Arizona with them despite not rehearsing in her studio that week and yelled at and insulted them on the flight down. We see her later in that episode in Arizona after not being in rehearsals all week, but she's mostly checked out. So for Dance Moms, episodes were normally filmed about 2 months before they premiere. The fan base for the show was and is really big, so fans would attend these competitions, film the dances, and post the results before the episode was even edited. At a competition in January of 2016, Abby yelled at one of these fans for filming and made her cry. The producers even filmed an interview with this fan, but it didn't make it to air. Rumors that Maddie would be leaving Dance Moms began to circulate in the press at the beginning of season 6. These rumors were confirmed to be true in episode 15 when Melissa told Abby on camera that her, Maddie, and Mackenzie would be leaving the competition team to pursue their careers outside of the show. They would still be a part of the Abby Lee Dance Company and attend classes, but they wouldn't be on the junior elite team anymore. Abby was upset that she wasn't a part of this decision and that Melissa told her on camera. She thinks that she should have been more involved.
Because all that I was asking for and what I said and still continue to say is there should have been a press conference with you, me, Maddie Mackenzie sitting there telling the world that this was a positive, wonderful, great thing happening, and that this had nothing to do with Pittsburgh or the ALDCLA. The girls would continue their training and their work under their teacher and under my tutelage. That's what should have been done. It should have been done properly.
Melissa was closer with Abby than any of the moms on the show ever were, and she never fought with Abby the same way either. There's a shift this season though. Melissa starts sticking up for Mackenzie a lot more, and she's got this fun little sound clip that's caused a lot of speculation around the departure of the Zieglers.
She doesn't want to mess with me right now. I know way too much. I know so much stuff.
Many fans believe that Melissa, Maddie, and Mackenzie left Dance Moms not only to pursue other opportunities, but because they were distancing themselves from Abby's legal troubles. Some fans even believe that Melissa may have been involved in some of these illegal activities. In that court document we were talking about earlier, there's this one bit that reads, "In addition to witness testimony, the government obtained a cell phone photograph of the Australian notes which were transported. Miller used other members of the trip to transport Australian currency into the U.S. in violation of the U.S. structuring laws under Title 31. A lot of people think that Melissa may have testified against Abby in court, but That's just a rumor. It could be true, it might not be, we don't know. The Zieglers no longer speak to Abby, but they did for a bit after departing the show. In 2016, Abby advertised a Silks class using a picture of Maddie, but it was the same day that Maddie was scheduled to go to a Teen's Choice Awards party, so she didn't go. People got upset when Maddie wasn't there, and many fans believe Melissa may have gotten lawyers involved because it was tarnishing Maddie's professional image. Then, a year after that, in 2017, Mackenzie was sued by Kismet Music, who she worked with as Max Z, for not fulfilling her contract and recording a song with an outside producer. Melissa and Mackenzie claim that Abby pushed them into signing this contract. Once again, I recommend watching this Max Z Boss video called Why Abby's Former Students Don't Speak to Her, where she talks about both of these incidents. Since then, it's become clear that Abby and the Zieglers are no longer friends. Abby makes snarky comments about them on social media to this day, specifically calling out Maddie for being unappreciative and claiming that Melissa stole money from her. The Zieglers' last episode was titled One Last Dance. Abby did not make any special arrangements for her star pupils last week, plus the minis were there, so the moms were upset. Abby and Melissa seemingly don't leave each other on good terms, but with this editing, you can never really know the full story. The cast went on a 5-week hiatus following their mid-season exit and returned to the ALDCLA in April 2016 to finish filming season 6. Abby got knee surgery at the end of that month and said on Instagram that it was something she had been putting off for a really long time. Unfortunately, Abby was still required to film Dance Moms that week and was using a chair to help her walk. Production didn't allow Abby to sit during Pyramid, which takes around 4 hours to film, so she had to stand the whole time, fresh out of surgery. That seems like a working violation to me. This same episode, we find out that Kendall is dissolving her music contract with Abby because she won't release the album that Kendall wants to release, and because Jill doesn't want Kendall tied up in a contract if Abby goes to prison. Her day in court just keeps getting closer. JoJo and Jessalyn leave the team not too long after the Zieglers do in episode 29. The show makes it look like they left because of a ballet duet with Kendall, but really Jessalyn knew that Lifetime never actually processed the contracts for the girls on the show, so the Siwas signed a talent deal with Nickelodeon and left Dance Moms. Obviously, this turned out to be a life-changing decision because JoJo became one of the biggest child stars on the planet. JoJo is the only kid from the elite team who still publicly keeps in touch with Abby today. I just realized one of my lights wasn't on for that entire last part, so that sucks. Things deteriorate quickly at the end of season 6. This is also where I've been getting so stuck in this script. So much happens in these last few episodes, and I wanted to walk through all of it step by step, but instead we'll just hit the major points to show where Abby stands with the team at the end of the season. The episode ALDC for Sale starts with the moms confirming that JoJo isn't coming back and discussing an article that came out about Abby filing another extension. I believe they're talking about this Deadline article because Ashley literally says a quote straight out of it. Abby comes in and locks herself in her office, which is also her bedroom. I forgot to mention that. Abby lives in her studio while they're filming out in LA. The next day, Abby tells everyone that no one is allowed to discuss her federal investigation. The elite team, their moms, and Abby go for a picnic after landing in Spokane, Washington. Abby is very distracted and the moms feel like they should be rehearsing their difficult dance instead. Abby begins to cry when talking to the moms about retirement and the girls all hug her. We then get an interview from Jill where she says that she wishes Abby would just talk to them. She says if Abby would be honest and tell the moms that she has other things to worry about, then they would be able to be a little more understanding, but that Abby's keeping them completely in the dark. At the competition, the mini team gets first place in their category and the elites get second in theirs. Abby awarded the mini team their official ALDC team jackets because their group routine scored higher than the older girls. In the next episode, titled Float Like a Butterfly, Sting Like Abby, which is a reference to a Muhammad Ali quote, this was filmed the week after he passed away, the elite team is set to dance in a commercial for Electro Kicks, which is an LED light-up shoe company. The group dance for the week was a hip-hop routine with 2 guest dancers, and the team doesn't like it because it's cheesy, slow, and too easy for them. The moms ask the commercial director if they can use his choreography for the competition, and he says if Abby approves it, he's okay with it. I should also mention that this man is in prison for his students. His name is Eric Saradpan, and he was also in the Maddie B episode. Abby arrives at the shoot and starts making suggestions to the director, who's very visibly annoyed, so the moms pull her away to suggest switching the dance. She says, "Perfect, fine, I don't care," but obviously she does. The editing gets wonky here. The conversation was definitely more than what we saw. The scene ends with Jill saying, "Be prepared because it's not going to end pretty. She's going to take our kids down with her." At the competition, the director shows the team the commercial, and Abby says that they should have gone in an entirely different direction, like using younger kids. The moms call her rude for this. The two girls who were supposed to be in the group dance arrive at the competition because Abby didn't tell them that they switched the routine, and a huge fight breaks out. The moms feel bad that the two guests were left out, so the girls teach them in the dressing room. Abby then goes backstage and pulls the number. She then sits in the audience, calls the competition director a liar, and says she never said that and to let them dance. The moms are tired of the games. The team competes and doesn't place. Abby celebrates the win of the minis, and the moms are fed up with sticking with someone who degrades their children, and the junior elites agree to leave the ALDC. The main issue between the moms and Abby in these episodes seemed to simply be a lack of communication. The moms want to know what is next for their kids, what is going to happen if something happens to you, which is a very real possibility with 20 federal charges against her. And the moms never seem to hear about her legal troubles from her. It always comes from the press. The next two episodes were a two-part finale, so I'm going to talk about them like they're one episode. Fed up with Abby's behavior, the elite team goes back to 3rd Street Dance and takes on Aaron Babs from Murrieta Dance Project as a choreographer. The ALDC has lost to MDP quite a few times, so that's like an extra dig. Melissa called Kira and asked what was going on because Abby texted her saying everyone was being mean to her. So at this point in the timeline, the Zieglers are still talking to Abby. Alex Calise, who sang the song Cry, which Maddie did a solo to back in season 1, invited Kendall and Nia to perform with her at a local concert. Abby attends this concert, calls it tacky, and then says it should have been at the Hard Rock Cafe because that is snazzy. She doesn't talk to Nia or Kendall following the performance. At the competition, Abby asks the junior elites to make a list of reasons of why they hate her. The moms try to talk to Abby following the awards ceremony, but it results in a fight. They walk away, and Abby laughs. And that's how season 6 ends. It's pretty abrupt. The finale is normally nationals, but not this time. Following the competition, which took place on June 18th, 2016, the cast went on an 8-week break. On June 27th, after filing 5 extensions and applying for a 6th, Abby pled guilty to charges of bankruptcy fraud and newly added customs fraud charges. Her sentencing was originally scheduled for that October. On August 6th, an episode of The Eric Andre Show aired, featuring Abby as a guest. It's extremely chaotic, and she obviously had no idea what she signed up for. Abby was holding new auditions for dancers around the country during the break between seasons 6 and 7. OK News reported on August 26th that Abby yelled at her staff at the Atlanta audition because only 11 kids showed up. The article also claims that the attendees were forced to buy ALDC clothes. And that's all I've got for this installment of The Rise and Fall of Abby Lee Miller. I plan on making a 3rd video that would cover season 7, her jail time, her journey with cancer, season 8, and up to current day. But I've decided to make absolutely zero promises about when that will come out because I uploaded part 1 in May, and it's January now, so this has been a crazy year for me. I moved to New York City. I've worked on 3 plays in that time. I babysit, I work, I'm on a podcast. I'm just really busy, okay? So thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe. And you can follow me on TikTok at TieDyeDragon with 2 Y's and die, or on Twitter at Jenna Baker M, or on Instagram at Jenna Baker Morrissey. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. And don't forget to listen to the podcast Feminine Features. Thank you.
Mom's better have my money. Mom's better have my money.
What money? I don't have her money.
Swaggy Lee is in the house.
Oh my god.
Okay.
What are you doing?
Get off my back. If they want hip hop, I will give them hip hop. The ALDC is in the house.